The world you live in is not ruled by fairness, nor by kindness. It is ruled by power. And if you do not understand how power moves, you will always be the pawn, never the prince. Today, I will reveal to you 13 rules, the very principles by which you may bend men's wills, conquer hearts, and rise above those who seek to dominate you. The problem is simple. Either you control others, or you are controlled. Which one will you choose? Power is older than kings, older than empires, older than the words carved in stone. It is the force that moves men, the hidden hand that shapes kingdoms, the silent whisper that makes even the strongest bow. And those centuries have passed since I, Niccolo Machiavelli, first observed its patterns. I tell you this, power has not changed. Only the costumes have. Today, the crowns are replaced with corporate titles, the castles with glass towers, the royal courts with boardrooms, and the royal decrees with social media posts. Yet the psychology that governs how men are controlled, persuaded and subdued, it remains eternal, untouched by time. In every era, men are blinded by illusions. They believe that the world has progressed, that it is more enlightened, more civilized. They tell themselves stories of equality, of fairness, of justice. But let me pull away the curtain for you. Beneath all these noble words lies the same ancient struggle, a struggle for dominance, for survival, for influence over the hearts and minds of others. If you understand this struggle, you rise above it. If you ignore it, you become its victim. For those who see the world clearly, power is not a mystery. It is a game with rules that repeat themselves generation after generation. Consider this, in my time, a prince needed to control his subjects, his rivals, and his allies. He had to master fear and love, deception and loyalty, punishment and reward. He had to play on emotions. Because reason alone does not move the masses. Now, look around you in your own world. Do politicians not still stir the crowds with promises they never intend to keep? Do corporations not seduce consumers with illusions of choice while binding them to endless consumption? Do men and women not use charm, flattery, or silence to get what they desire from one another? The stage has changed, but the play remains the same. The timeless psychology of power rests upon one truth. People are not driven by reason, but by desire and fear. They wish to be led even as they deny it. They crave illusions even as they pretend to seek truth. They are drawn to strength even as they whisper about kindness. To control them, you must understand not what they say, but what they truly hunger for. This hunger has not changed from the days of Caesar to the days of your modern leaders. The same instincts that made men kneel before emperors now make them kneel before influencers, celebrities, and those who hold wealth. Call it progress if you wish, but I call it continuity. Power is not in the tools, it is in the psychology. The sword, the coin, the throne. These were my era's instruments. Today, your instruments are algorithms, media, technology, and money that moves without metal or paper. But listen carefully, these are not the source of power, they are only its channels. True power comes from understanding how to move people, how to bend their choices while letting them believe they are free, how to cloak command in persuasion, and how to make obedience feel like desire. This is why my teachings survive. Because no matter what inventions mankind creates, he cannot escape his nature. And it is human nature that I mastered, and human nature that you must master, if you wish not to be ruled but to rule. You live in an age where every man and woman feels powerless, though they are surrounded by symbols of progress. They believe themselves free, yet their freedom is an illusion carefully woven by unseen hands. They obey not kings but systems, not princes but faceless forces, not armies but the subtle weight of opinion, reputation, and approval. And yet, the problem is no different than it was in my time. You are either the controller or you are the controlled. Most fall into the second category, shackled without chains, enslaved without seeing the walls that confine them. Look around you. The worker chained to a desk believes he is free because he chose his job, yet the demands of survival command him more fiercely than any monarch. The young soul, scrolling endlessly on glowing screens, believes he acts by choice. Yet every word he reads, every thought he forms, is guided by invisible architects who design these illusions to bend his desires. The citizen votes, convinced he shapes the destiny of his nation, yet the choices placed before him are already carved by men who play the deeper game. This is the problem we face. People wander blind, convinced they see. They mistake movement for freedom, noise for knowledge, and choice for power. In truth, they remain pawns. Do not think this is an accident. Power does not vanish, it changes its mask. In my era, manipulation was crude and open. Threats, wars, assassinations, decrees. Today, it is refined, subtle, and more dangerous because it is hidden. The chain that is seen can be broken, but the chain that is invisible becomes permanent. And so, the modern world teems with men and women who do not know why they obey, why they buy, why they follow, why they surrender their time, their gold, their loyalty. They are moved as easily as pieces on a board, yet they swear they are the players. This is the great illusion, and this illusion is the enemy you must conquer. Why do people feel powerless? Because they have surrendered the knowledge of power itself. They are taught to believe in fairness, in rules, in institutions that protect them. Yet behind these walls are only individuals playing for dominance. They forget that every law was written by someone with an interest, every system designed to favor its creators, every idea propagated to benefit the few who understand how power breathes. The masses cling to comfort, to safety, to distractions, while the few who truly see exploit them. It was true in the courts of Florence, and it is true in the digital kingdoms of your age. If you remain ignorant of this problem, you will live your life as prey, not predator. You will speak of freedom while obeying commands you never recognize. You will praise leaders who betray you, follow idols who exploit you, defend institutions that weaken you, and worst of all, you will never realize that the leash was fastened around your neck not by force, but by your own consent. This is why you must learn to manipulate before you are manipulated, to command before you are commanded, to unmask illusions before they bind you. For the game is eternal, and those who fail to master it are destined to be mastered. If the world is a battlefield of hidden power, then what weapons shall you wield? Do not think strength of muscle, nor wealth of coin, nor beauty of face alone will grant you mastery. These may open doors, but they do not secure thrones. The true arsenal lies in the principles I carved from the marrow of human behavior. Principles refined in blood and betrayal, in courtly schemes and ruthless games. 13 rules I give you, 13 keys to control the hearts, minds, and actions of others. With these, you shall not simply survive in this age, you shall rise above it, bending men to your design while they swear it was their own will that led them. Understand that every rule is not a command shouted openly, but a whisper that seeps into the soul. The strength of manipulation lies not in being seen, but in remaining invisible, so that men dance to your tune believing it is their song. I did not study princes merely to flatter them. I studied them to reveal the secret gears that turn men into instruments of power. And though centuries separate my words from your world, I tell you this. These rules remain eternal, for they are born not of politics or kingdoms, but of human nature itself, and human nature does not change. There is the rule of appearances, which teaches that men judge more by what they see than what they know. Cloak yourself in strength, and they will obey. Inside you tremble. There is the rule of fear and love, which reminds us that men are fickle with affection but consistent in terror. Love binds weakly, but fear chains firmly. There is the rule of deception, the art of saying enough truth to earn trust, while withholding enough to preserve your advantage. There is the rule of patience, to strike only when the prey is unaware, and the rule of boldness, to strike without hesitation once the moment has arrived. Each rule is not a theory but a blade, sharpened by centuries of use, wielded by emperors, generals, merchants, and lovers alike. You think these rules belong only in palaces? No, they dwell in every marketplace, every chamber, every glowing screen that commands attention today. When a leader frames his failures as triumphs, he obeys the rule of appearances. When a company creates desire for what you do not need, it wields the rule of deception. When a rival pauses, silent, making you speak more than you intended, he is using the rule of patience. And when a man or woman suddenly seizes your loyalty with charm or command, they are practicing the rule of boldness. You are surrounded by these principles every day. Whether you see them or not, those who know them play the game, those who do not are the game. These 13 rules are not to be memorized as mere words, but to be lived as instincts until you breathe them as naturally as the air. Once you understand them, you will never again look at another action with innocence. You will see the motive behind every smile, the weapon behind every compliment, the ambition behind every alliance. You will see manipulation not as cruelty, but as necessity, not as deception, but as survival. And when you practice them with mastery, others will marvel at your influence, never realizing that they walk paths you designed long before they took their first step. You may ask me, Niccolo, what good are these rules today, when the world is filled with machines, with algorithms, with digital kingdoms that my eyes have never seen? You may think my wisdom belongs only to dusty courts and forgotten empires. But you are mistaken, for human nature has not evolved with your technology. The tools may have changed, but the hearts that wield them remain the same. Greedy, fearful, ambitious, desperate for recognition, eager for security, hungry for power. And so, the rules of manipulation live on, only cloaked in modern garments, wearing the mask of progress while playing the same eternal game. Consider your workplaces. The boardroom is nothing but a court in disguise, its walls of glass no different from my Florentine chambers of marble. The manager who flatters his superior while undermining his rival is practicing my lessons faithfully. The leader who inspires loyalty with slogans and fear of loss uses the very balance I described between love and fear. Promotions, alliances, betrayals. These are not corporate strategies. They are courtly maneuvers dressed in business suits. To master this world, you must treat it as the battlefield it truly is, where appearances and influence decide who rules and who obeys. Consider politics. Do your leaders not act as princes once did? They promise paradise, knowing they deliver only fragments. They stir the passions of the crowd with images of hope and terror, just as I once observed in the piazzas of Florence. They maintain enemies to unite the people. They cultivate myths to disguise their weaknesses. They project strength, even as they crumble within. You may think you are governed by institutions, by laws, by democracy. But I tell you, you are still ruled by men, and these men obey the same laws of power I recorded centuries ago. When you see them kiss infants, shake hands, or speak in soft tones, know it is the mask. When you see them command with iron, punish dissenters, and silence rivals, know it is the hand. The mask and the hand together form the eternal theater of control. Consider relationships. Do you believe manipulation dwells only in palaces and parliaments? No, it sits at the dinner table, it whispers in the marriage bed, it lingers in the friendships you call sacred. Affection is shaped by power, loyalty by fear of loss, attraction by appearances, trust by careful deception. When one lover withdraws affection to make the other chase, it is a practice of dominance. When a friend flatters more than truth permits, it is a bid for advantage. Even in the most intimate bonds, men and women wield the rules without knowing their names. You may call it love, companionship, partnership. I call it the negotiation of power, cloaked in tender words, and consider, most of all, the digital world. Here lies the most dangerous empire, for it rules the mind more directly than any throne or sword. Do not think algorithms are mere machines. They are princes without faces. They know your desires before you speak them. They feed your fears before you feel them. They make you kneel not by force but by endless seduction. Every post, every advertisement, every headline you consume is an application of my rules. Appearance over substance, repetition over truth, manipulation of desire, control through fear of exclusion. If you do not learn to see the game consumes you. If you do not learn to bend others with these tools, you will be bent by them. Modern life does not free you from the struggle for power, it tightens its grip. You are surrounded by manipulation in business, politics, relationships, and media. The only question that remains is whether you will play blindly or whether you will play with knowledge. My 13 rules are not relics. They are weapons, sharpened anew by your world, waiting for those bold enough to wield them. Now you have walked with me through the shadows of power, through the illusions that bind the masses, through the 13 rules that bend men's wills. You have seen how the struggle is eternal, how in palaces and parliaments, in boardrooms and bedrooms, in courts of kings and kingdoms of glass, the game never ends. You may wrap the world in new inventions, you may surround it with bright lights and glowing screens, but beneath it all, man remains the same, fearful, ambitious, envious, desperate to be led, and it is he who understands this truth who rises above the rest. Do not think my words are mere philosophy. They are weapons. Knowledge of human nature is the sharpest sword, and the ability to command others without them knowing is the crown that never falls. If you learn to master appearances, to wield fear and love, to deceive when needed, to be patient when others rush, and bold when hesitation reigns, then you shall stand as ruler in a world of pawns. But if you refuse, if you hide behind illusions of fairness and equality, then prepare yourself, for someone else will use these rules upon you, and you will bow without ever knowing why. The choice has always been the same, whether in Florence or in your modern world. Rule or be ruled, manipulate or be manipulated, control or be controlled. This is the eternal law of power, the law written not by men, but by human nature itself. Remember this well, for it is the only truth that matters.